it means. And some people say it's for white power. Some people say it's for 3%ers. Other, whatever. I'll let y'all do the research. You can Google it. Anybody can Google it. Anyway, it was a pretty intense weekend, guys. Saturday was really intense, and I did a chance to kind of wrap with some of my supporters yesterday. But yeah, I was not fully prepared for some of the backlash, some of the fallout that came from my coverage on Saturday out in D.C. That being said, there was a lot of issues, I think, with the fact that I spent time covering the Proud Boys, and I needed to address some things and make sure that it's very clear that I haven't deviated or strayed from what I would consider my ethos in this journey that I'm on right now, which is for self-discovery and for education. I'm trying to get some questions answered to myself. But to be clear, I was in Seattle, or sorry, I was in DC to cover the Million Mega March, is what they were referring to it as. And for anyone that didn't tune in with us for the march, or for the day on Saturday, there was a huge amount of people there. Maybe you can pull up a picture for me, if you would, of kind of like the crowd that was there. That'd be great. We're going to try to pull one up for you guys. But there was a lot of people there. There was a ton of people. I mean, some people have said, I kept hearing 1 million, 2 million, whatever, but there's tens of thousands of people. I'll say that at least. A lot of folks. And it was unfortunate that I wasn't able to live stream the whole time. There was a lot of signals that were pinging the towers, whatever the reasons are behind it. It was really, really intermittent that I was able to get a signal out. So the signals that I did get, there's a few clips up on our different platforms. You can kind of see some of the crowd, a couple of the interviews I was able to grab. Most of it didn't come in until the evening. Now, moving into the evening, some of the things that came up throughout the evening, there was a lot of marching. Obviously, it started off as a big march, and it made its way from, was it Liberty Square? Is that where it started? Freedom Square. No, where the speeches all started. Yeah. I think it was Freedom Square is where it started. Rick says over 1 million. Okay. To give airtime to both. Yeah, I apologize. One, Jennifer, you said after thinking about it, to be unbiased, you have to give airtime to both. Yeah. So, and this is what I'm going to be talking about. Jennifer Boudreau, you hit it on the head about my opportunities to cover as much as possible. Now, there's a lot that goes into that. On the march that I'm talking about, now I got to find that comment. Take it. Here we go. So, along the lines of that march, we made it up to the Supreme Court building. At the Supreme Court building, we have some footage that we're going to pull up of what it was like at the Supreme Court building. I didn't know what we were going to find when we got there, but what it was ended up being a fenced-off line of barricade line, and then you had police on the other side of that. And by that I mean there was the entire crowd. I mean, I'm talking, I would say at least 10,000 people on one side, and then on the other side you had the barricade, then you had the police line on the other side of that. Now, beyond the police line, the police had their backs to the barricades and the people, the mass crowd, and they were facing a crowd of, and I hate saying titles on this one because it's so hard to define this group. Antifa, BLM, counter protesters. There are so many different things that these groups are, umbrellaed under. But I hope we can all understand what I'm talking about. It was the folks with the shields and black locked out, and just, kind of the ones that are ready to rock and roll. By that, I mean that are ready for an engagement, and you don't come out with the shield unless you're ready for there to be something to block that with. And again, I keep in mind, I don't look at a shield as an attack weapon. I look at it as a defensive weapon. That's something I need to say because it's for whatever reason in my head that I was just thinking. But moving past that, there was that group, and I would say there's probably 50 to 100, 75 maybe, but there was a lot of press intermingled throughout that group. As the day started and began to progress, I was basically Antifa, guys. We're gonna go that way. Jeremy says Blantifa. I'm not sure exactly the reference on that, and if it goes along the way I'm thinking, that kind of blended Antifa. I'm going to go that route. But it kind of blends into all these different groups, and they all kind of come together in under that moniker. Being said, though, I did end up getting a chance to record from that side of the line. And so I spent some time looking out at the crowd. And it was okay at first because there was so much press and media there that, much like I did on election night, if you guys remember, I was out here for election night in D.C., and I had a chance to follow the march. And I'll say this, that march went peacefully. There was no violence, destruction. For several hours we marched. I mean, miles we marched throughout the streets of D.C. that night. And I was really happy and refreshed to see that there was able to be that march without any kind of violence, without any kind of destruction of property. And so we fast forward to Saturday. So there's that group there today, and everyone was out for blood. It was wild. There was like 10,000 people that were just, I mean, I can't say they were all just angry, but the front line on that barricade were just animately just angry, and they were shouting, I mean, obscenities and things, and saying terrible things. I saw people making gun references, but that things were coming from the other side of the fence back over. So there was just so much like catcalling, like people were trying to like get people riled up and get them in on it, And so that being said, I realized that I was standing at what was a hotbed, right? And the police were very much active in trying to maintain different sides, but both sides were kind of calling each other out, and that's something to keep in mind because it plays into how the night turned out. And we're going to show some video of that here in a little bit. And I want you guys to be aware that there are going to be some violent things you might see. It's going to be a little bit graphic, but those are the things that we saw throughout the course of the night. I'm sure most of you already seen them. You might probably watched with me on Saturday night while I was live. But I feel like I need to talk about it. I need to express some of the thoughts of what happened. So as that night went on, one of the first things that came up while I was on the other side of the barricade earlier in the day, during the daylight, I kind of was walking around and I was filming things. Did you pull up any of that footage?
They can be converted to MP4s.
And that means?
It's going to be just a second.
Okay, well, we'll have some video clips that will pull up here in a second. But one of the things that happened there was I was walking back towards the fence line, and I talked about this on my feed, and I got that group of umbrellas, they came up and they kind of blocked my way. And I was just like, guys, come on, we're past this, right? Like we have to move past this. Like there are literally thousands of cameras out here watching. I don't know why there's a fear, and there's media everywhere, press media everywhere. It wasn't just me. And again, an obstruction of my view. And on my feed, I think I was live when I said it. I was like, well, this is going to get awkward because I'm not leaving because everyone's kind of just kettled in here right now. And if we leave, you can't come back. And I've been here for about these last hour and a half, 2 hours, however long I've been there. Like, no, you haven't. I had.
It's the easiest way to share the screen rather than trying to upload it to the actual screen.
No, that's fine. You can just put the screen on yours and then I can pop it on. So we're working a new studio setup right now, guys. So I appreciate you being patient. If there's any little glitches, we're going to iterate and keep moving through it. So, but I just took 10 steps to my right, walked around that little group, and it was fine. They weren't being, physical with me at that point. Someone did follow me though, and they kind of were trying to block my camera while I'm standing. And the crazy part is, and I had to explain this, was they came to me and they said, we don't just film your buddies out here. Don't film us. And immediately the person pointed out at the police line in the crowd. And I asked her to repeat. I was like, what do you mean? Like no, that's not how we do it. The way that it worked out was there was the crowd she was talking about was all in front of me. I was like, well, that's what I'm looking at right now. But I had her, and she's like, don't film us. In my head, I'm thinking, by us, who do you mean? You're wearing a blue t-shirt, you have glasses, blonde hair, you're about 5'3", white woman, white person. Who are you identifying as the group you don't want me to film? Who do you not want me to film? And I had to ask, didn't get the answer. And so she was like, just don't film us. So I was like, here's the thing. I won't even look at you with my camera. Here's my microphone. I want to hear why you're out here. Just tell me why you're here. I want to know. I genuinely want to know what brought you out here today. I can tell you why I came out. And everyone out there is pretty obviously out here for the same reason. All those folks that were on the other side of the fence. So I kept asking. I was like, well, just tell me why you're here. I want to know. I guarantee a lot of people. I even asked the camera. I was like, how many people want to know why you're here? And it wouldn't matter with us. And so moving into that, she was like, I don't talk to fascists. I was like, well, how am I a fascist? And her answer was, well, I don't know you. And that just, I got to tell you guys, that blew my mind. That moment right there, was wildly upsetting and telling for me. I was like, right, you don't know me, but I can tell you right now, your partner over here, 2 folks down, it was all blacked out, is a double history major from her college. And I know that because I listened to her while she was yelling something to somebody on the other side of the fence that was giving some historical, what they thought were facts. She corrected and was like, you don't want to argue with me. I'm a double history major, which I was like, man, mic drop moment for you. That's great. But I know you a little bit better now because I listened to what you had to say. And when I said that to her, I was like, well, your friend here is a double history major from her college. And she was like, well, that's great. The girl looked over at me and was like, yeah, thumbs up. And I was like, but how are you ever going to get to know what I'm all about if you just generalize and assume things? And my skin was boiling. I was just like, man, I'm so frustrated right now. And she didn't have anything to say. She was like, just don't film us. And I was like, I tell you what I'm going to do. That's not going to happen. Your generalized idea that I'm not going to film you is not going to happen because you're in the most watched city on the planet right now with thousands of people looking at you. But the fact that I'm 20 feet closer to you than everyone out there doesn't make me a threat. You're all covered up. Anyone that doesn't want to be on camera is going to be covered up. And I've talked about this before. There's not like an earlobe that I'm going to get that's going to identify you as being out here. And what are you doing out here that doesn't want you to be identified? I get that if you want your privacy, that's okay. And you mask up and that's great. I don't have retinal scanning abilities on my phone, to be very clear, or any camera that I have. But I guarantee you that all the CCTV that's around here is more intelligent and 10 times better than anything I'll ever carry. And I tried to convey that to her, but I said, out of respect for you, I won't record you. I'll do my best not to put you on camera because you've asked me not to. And she was like, that's fine. That's all I'm asking. That's basically what it came down to. And I was like, great. Well, let's go ahead. You go your way. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Just kick rocks. I'm done talking about this. What blew me away was at that moment, I realized that like there's not a lot that people want to say until you get a chance, until they have, well, I guess there's a lot people want to say, but I think that they maybe aren't ready to say it. They don't have the platform to say it, or like I said a second ago, they don't have anything to say. And that makes me concerned to think that people are willing to get out in the streets and fight about something they may not really know what they're fighting about. So that's how the day kind of started. Now, it was hard for me to hear someone call me a fascist. And I think that she just generalized immediately I'm a fascist. And it sucks because I'm a white man standing there with a camera. And for you to just distinguish, like, if you're not with us, you're a fascist. And if you're anti-fascist, you're immediately against me. But you have no idea what I'm out there. And what I told her in that moment, I was like, here's my platform. There are going to be hundreds of thousands of people that'll watch this. Tell them your thoughts. Let them know without even putting your face anywhere near the camera, your thoughts. I want to know, and I know they want to know, because I think you guys can all agree, we genuinely want to know why everyone's out in those streets. And what happened later in that night, I understand a little bit better because I've talked to different groups, but I'm sure a lot of people are confused about it. And I think that even she was confused. And I think that's something that we need to work on, which is why I put back to where I'm at here. This is an educational platform for me. And I hope that for anyone watching, it's a little educational for you as well, because I'm able to talk to people and I'm willing to go into groups that I may not agree with on an ideology level or even on an operational standpoint, but I'm willing to stand in with that group and talk to them and listen to them and have them share their views and opinions, because it helps me better understand how I feel about things. And that's kind of how the night proceeded. We kept moving in that direction. And as we kept going, again, it was choppy signals, and it just got to that point where I wasn't able to get much of a signal. So I had to kind of cut out for a little bit. But when I came back on, I was able to walk around for a couple of hours. And I walked in on some incredible conversations where people were having some really intelligent exchanges. I mean, there was people that were talking about politics. There's people that were talking about policy. There were people that were just talking about their ethos and things that about their heart that really was why they were on the streets. There was a lot of talk about Jesus too, actually, a lot of talk about gospel and faith. So one of the things that really got me going though was that and I'm going to talk about that real fast. When we talk about here, this one here. Chelsea has something to say there, and I'm going to talk about that actually. So the night went on, and I had a chance to continue and go through the sunset of it all until the night fell. And then there was marching. And the marching that started wasn't just Proud Boys. Guys, keep in mind, that's what we're talking about today, is the Proud Boy and Antifa standoff. To be very clear, I'm not going to dance around anything. That's what we're here to talk about, because that's where there's a lot of this issues that came through. Not just their standoff, but the fact that I was following that group. Now, to make this happen, guys, to be very clear, Chelsea Krug right here says, it doesn't matter who sponsors CJ. just stop already. Now, what she's talking about in that is the fact that as I've been moving forward and everything I've done, and Chelsea, thank you for commenting, I'm 100% viewer driven, right? And by that, I mean donations, contributions, things that help fund my travels are what make it possible for me to go from Seattle to DC, cross country, and to do the coverage that I do, and to be out in the field for 13, 14 hours and doing the coverage that we're all part of what I'm watching right now. Keep in mind that the donations that I get are what make that possible. However, there are people that take this stream and rebroadcast it on their own. And if you look in the bottom corner of that screen, typically you're going to see something that looks a little bit like this. I'm going to show you. It'll look a little something like that. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. The reason that's down there is because they're looking to get donations for the services they're offering at the same time. Right? Now, one of the things I want to keep in mind is that while they're rebroadcasting that stream, they might be able to make money off their donations, but I'm putting in the work that they're showcasing. They get a chance to talk about it. Not a single person up until has offered money for my footage. And I mean this 100% with all clarity. There has not been any media outlet that's ever given me a single dollar for any of my footage, contrary to what people might assume. And people can say what they want about that, but have I received any money for anything? No, exactly. Just donations and contributions. And there have been some offers, but I have not received a dollar from a media outlet. Now, anyone that dubs themselves a media outlet, keep in mind, there's streamers that do that. They are media. They're out there, press media, and they want to be self-identified and recognized, right? To rebroadcast the feed and not give someone a dime for what you're doing, a lot of people will go after you for that. I don't, because I feel like it shouldn't be censored. We should all have the opportunity to go out there and do what we're doing. So without having someone shut us down because our opinions or views aren't liked or even reciprocated. There was somebody, though, that offered me some money for my footage, for the fact that I was going out there, knew that I'd be going to DC, and said, hey, I will pay you for footage. I'll be willing to pay you for the fact that I'm going to use your footage. And that's where everyone's freaking out about my sponsors. It's not a sponsorship, guys. It's a contribution. So when it came down to Steve sending some money, that's something that I utilized along with other contributions to help fly myself cross country and do exactly what I do. Didn't change anything about what I do or how I do it. Keep that in mind. And people want to think that just because of donations come in, none of the donations that I get are coming with a disclaimer that I have to do anything. It's in support of what I'm doing. So for streamers and other people to rebroadcast my feed and not have any kind of financial contribution to what I'm doing to help make it even possible, it does hurt a little bit, but I had to struggle through and realize that my community is going to get my back. And you guys are going to help me out on that. So that's where it makes a big difference when you guys are out here. So, but really when it comes down to it, I'm all about the fact that like people are willing to stand behind me and back what I do and believe in what I'm doing and support what I do, because guys, without it, I wouldn't be able to do it. So be it people that are on the far, I'm not going to go too far, because keep in mind, there are facts we get to screen out groups that might want to contribute money. I haven't had that situation yet where some kind of far radical group wants to fund anything. And if that were the case, I would definitely screen that out and not take that donation. But if there's people that believe a certain way on this side or this, that's not going to stop and or dictate how I do my broadcast. You know what I mean? I will accept gladly the fact that you appreciate what I'm doing and want to see more of it. So moving past that, I'm not going to dance around the fact that I do receive contributions. And anyone out there that says that they're not looking for that opportunity to receive contributions is wrong, because there's no way I could operate without that. So moving past that. For everyone that has contributed, I'm going to say this right now, for everyone, since we're talking about it right now, for everyone that has been able to contribute and make that possible, thank you very much. I do appreciate it, and it is 100% the operational and functional aspect of how I get things done. Now, keep in mind, gentlemen like Steve, we may not agree, and we've talked quite a bit. We may not agree on a lot of things. On basic levels, there's things that we just don't come to eye on, but that's okay because we respect each other. And the fact that he's out there doing his thing, I respect that, like I do with any streamer. Like I said, I hope that every voice gets heard. I want everybody to have a platform, which is why I carry a microphone and not just a camera. I want to hear what people have to say. And I think that streamers have a lot to say because you're out there experiencing a lot. Like the people that I've spent a lot of time with, and you know who they are. And I respect them, and I appreciate that there might be a little bit of an edge of uncomfort right now, but that's okay. because we're going to move past this and we're going to grow from this and we're going to be better for it. But that being said, it's not going to sway or dictate how I operate, guys. I'm going to keep doing things how I do them. So that's where I'm at with the donation aspect of things, guys. It's a tough thing to do, though, and I'll tell you right now, it's uncomfortable for me to ask for contributions. But this isn't a free trip, you know what I mean? Like, to fly cross country and spend 2 days in a hotel and then spend all day trying to broadcast and having to come up with new technologies that I can use, this all costs money. And it's for a love of what I do, but it's also to provide not just entertainment, a service for anyone that's watching. So thank you guys for being a part of it. Anyway, what I'm hoping to do tonight is answer some questions. And so, but what I want to be clear about is that I will cover everything that I possibly can cover. And so up into the evening, what happened was the marches went, the Proud Boys ended up making their way into that crowd. If you think that I'm not going to record what's going to happen in the streets of DC after flying cross country to be there, you're sorely mistaken. They were out doing their march, and then there was definitely that current that they were looking for, that scrap with Antifa. To be very clear, moving into what is happening on the other side of the fence, they were all looking for a fight. Everybody was looking for that fight. There was the Antifa crowd, and there was the Proud Boy crowd, and they were looking to brawl. And let's just be real about it, guys. They were looking for that fight. And eventually, as anyone saw that was watching the feed, they found it. They found that chance to scrap. That being said, guys, keep in mind, my job, as I feel, is important. When it comes down to how I operate, is to record what's happening. Much like you're looking at me now, I didn't build the wall behind me, but I'm standing in front of it. I'm not creating the news that I'm recording, just standing in front of it. There are times, like you've seen in places like Kenosha and other situations, where I don't have the ability to stand back and just watch. I feel the need to engage and to involve myself, much like I did on that night. And we're going to watch a little footage here, but I'm going to have to talk to my off camera here and make sure that it's set up, which it's not. You need to go ahead and get your screen dialed in. So that's what's on your screen, because that's what I'm going to see when I go on screen. Well, you need to pull that up on your screen. So bear with me, guys, while we get this dialed in.
What do you want me to share?
Whatever you're seeing for your screen is what I'll see when I pull you up.
I know. What video do you want me to do? I've got them all on my screen right now.
What do we have dialed in? Well, so yeah, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit from across the line. So this is what the day started off like, and we're going to go into some Q&A. Yeah, and hey, Chelsea, it's okay. If you don't like me, don't agree with me, it's okay. You don't have to, it's okay. And I appreciate all you guys getting my back, because I know that there's a lot more people in here that understand me, that really understand what I'm trying to do, that have been following me from the jump, that know that just because I followed the Proud Boys during the evening for a period of time, keep in mind that last segment, I was live for about 12 hours. Well, I was live for 6.5 hours for the last segment, but there's another 3-hour segment before that. So there's about 9 hours that I was live. Of that, there was a very small portion of that where there was the Proud Boy and the Antifa clash and interaction. So people were saying things like, oh, you follow the Proud Boys, you're part of the Proud Boys. Because Enrique Taro at one point made this indoctrination speech that he was doing with people there. Guys, it doesn't change anything about who I am or what I'm doing. You're not hearing me make some kind of oath to anybody. I'm there to cover it. I'm just out here doing the best I can to cover it and cover my own ass. And keep in mind, guys, it's not a safe place. I have to wear a bulletproof vest when I'm out in the field. I have to usually wear a helmet of some type. I have this padded hat. Thank you for the birthday gift for those that sent that in. I carry a trauma kit in my bag, because you've seen how it can go. People will literally get killed in the streets while they're out there doing what they do. So while I'm out covering the things I cover, I have to keep in mind my safety is always, I have to keep my personal safety in mind too. So people were giving me a lot of grief for not jumping in on some fights and stopping some things, which if you didn't watch the whole thing, you've missed the fact that I did involve myself where I felt the need to get involved. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here in a second. But I want to be clear, just because you are involved in a group or following a group from a journalistic standpoint doesn't mean you're part of that group, okay? And I want to be right on board with that. And I hope everyone can appreciate and understand that you don't watch a documentary on Hitler and all of a sudden become a Nazi. You know what I mean? That's not how it works. Nor do you cancel your Netflix subscription because that's the channel that you watched it on, guys. That's what this is right here. It's an opportunity for you to see what mainstream media is not showing you. So my ability to mix into that group and to mix into any group only comes down to the fact that I do maintain a lack of bias. I don't go in there with a preconceived idea of what I want to see, which is why the questions I ask are almost fundamentally like elementary. You know, I ask questions almost from a childlike standpoint because I feel like I didn't know anything about the Proud Boys up until the Proud Boy rally that I covered down in Portland about a month or two ago, a month and a half ago. There's so many things I didn't understand about BLM until I started covering a lot of those protests. There's so many things I didn't understand about myself until I started doing these stories. And so as we move into these things, guys, the questions I ask are meant for me to better understand and hopefully help you better understand. And so for people to have this odd concept that because I was there, I must be a part of whatever was there. I came across country to cover a story, and I'm not going to bail on you guys early and not leave you with something to see. I was out there to cover what mainstream media wasn't going to cover. So that's what I do. So we're going to watch some footage here, some clips. I'd ask that you guys share the stream, if you would, please. Let's get some more people in here because I know there's a lot of people that were watching. We had a couple thousand. How many people do we have live on Saturday? 6,000. So, I mean, not that I'm thinking we're going to get 6,000 here now, but I think if there's a chance for people to really understand what I'm talking about right now, I'd love to get everyone that was in here on Saturday a chance to watch it with us and be a part of what's going on. So we're going to start off, at the beginning of the day. If you have questions that pop up, I'm going to try to grab them as best I can. Yeah, Chrissy, you know what? I'm going to poke on this real fast. It's crazy how you were never labeled until you went to D.C. Chrissy, that's a solid point. Even though you're wearing a Denver Broncos face mask, I'm still going to talk about you. It's okay. It's my Seahawks. But yeah, I've covered so many different things and never been said. Well, when I was first covering a lot of the protests, especially in Portland, people would say, oh, you're press Tifa or you're Antifa press. And even the Proud Boys at one point when I went over, had I not had the experiences that I had in Kenosha, they were like, well, we don't know about you yet. But people have slowly broken down these preconceived ideas of who I am and what I'm about. And I hope it's because they've watched some of my feeds. And if you haven't watched my feeds, guys, watch it. You'll realize what I'm about from the very beginning when I went out just asking questions. I'm not an activist. I'm not someone who's out here trying to sway people with my own personal views and beliefs. I'm genuinely asking questions so people can better understand them for themselves. So, but yeah, suddenly you get down and you cover something and people want to believe. And I think it's because there's a lot of strong views. And yeah, you guys, I'd be lying if I didn't say the Proud Boys weren't. They're a tough pill to swallow. And we'll just say it. They are not an easy group to just go ahead and sign up for. They're not the dudes that I would typically prescribe to. You know, I wouldn't. You know, you wouldn't invite them to like the quinceañera, whatever. But maybe you would. I don't know. But they're not what I expected. And to be clear, that's fine. Like they're a rough and tumble. As Enrique Taro said when I first talked to him, I was like, "What are the Proud Boys?" He's like, "Basically, they're just a drinking fraternity of guys with a patriot problem," is how they describe themselves. So, you know, but like I said, with Steve, PT News, and a lot of these other organizations and people, I may not agree with you fundamentally or even on an ideology level, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be combative with you. We don't have to agree on everything. Like I would hope that the world doesn't agree on everything. That's the only way that we find growth is through the agitated understanding that there's more to learn. And that's what we're trying to do, right? Like we're trying to figure things out. I know I am. I'm doing my best to figure things out. And sadly enough, as I'm going through this journey, people don't like it. You know what I mean? They just don't like the fact that I have something in front of my camera. And you know, if I'm being real with you guys, like I get it. You know, I understand that. Like you look at something and it upsets you. Sometimes you're mad at what showed you that. You know what I mean? Like a car accident is a hard thing to see, but you don't typically blame the car. You know what I mean? In my head, that makes sense. I hope that translates out. But I'm trying to get into comments here too, guys. And again, there's a lot of comments. Here's one I'm going to answer real quick. Do I? No, that's not the one. Sorry, let me take that. Sorry, like I said, they're coming through quick. Someone asked if I think we're talking about the Proud. Do I think the Proud Boys are white supremacists? Catherine Bolton. No, I don't think that organization operates under a white supremacist title. I do think that it's big enough that there's going to be people that are probably white supremacists in that group, and you're going to see that in that organization. But as a whole, I think that even like Enrique Taro and some of the other people that I talked to, there was plenty of people of different ethnicities. I think he's Cuban African or Afro-Cuban, and So there's different. First guy that I ever talked to from the Proud Boys was a Puerto Rican as well, and he even said it. He was like, "Well, I'd be the most ethnically blended Nazi then." So there was, jokes aside, though, I don't believe that the organization. And this is what's tough. If you have a moniker that hangs over your head, if you've got some kind of overarching title, like all too often that title comes with these specifications and ramifications of what you believe and how you have to operate and what they operate under. I don't think in their credo it says that you have to be a white person with white supremacist beliefs. So, which is why it's hard to put anything over your head. You guys operate underneath, which is where I think all of this comes down to, is this polarized differences in the world right now, especially in American politics. How if you're a Republican, you must be fill in the blanks. If you're a Democrat, you must be fill in the blanks. That's not what the world's like. And it's not, I don't want to say shades of gray. It's a beautiful overarching blend of everything. And as someone that I used to work with Zay all the time, and I totally stand behind it, it's not about politics, it's about policies. It's about what's best for the people. And so when you put yourself under a title and just subscribe to everything that title has to play out, like you've done yourself a disservice, because you're allowed to question things even within the organizations that you operate. We're supposed to be learning and adapting and be as organic as possible. I know I am. I'm trying to be as organic as possible. Take the spice of life as best I can. The first time I voted, guys, was an absentee ballot from Egypt, based off of the interactions I had with people from different countries, from Turkey, from Egypt, from Saudi Arabia, from all over the Middle East. That was some of the education that I had in my first presidential election that I ever voted in. And I can tell you right now that it's only because I had a better understanding of how the politics affected the entire world that I was able to better understand how I felt about it. And that's because I asked a lot of questions, because I was a younger man, and I felt that I needed to better get a grasp on the world by talking to people in the world. So that's where I went, and that's where the education came from. So, but so we're going to look at some videos here. We're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to answer some questions and keep moving, guys. And I hope that you know that I'm going to try to answer as many questions that come up in the notifications as possible. And I'm looking over here, which is not down over here. And I'll be in Australia sometime. I'll let you buy me some bangers and mash. And let me see, what was the question here? Trying here, CJ. So how about towards the end, the young kid in the cowboy hat seemed really upset because no one from the other side would tail to him. I don't know what that means. Sorry, I thought that was another question. But if you see questions coming up on your side in the comments, if you would let me know something that jumps up, feel free to pop that up on the screen, and we'll go ahead and jump into that.
Do you want to go through the day video-wise, or do you want to just do questions? Do you want me to? Are we going to go through the day like video clip-wise, or you just want to do question and answer?
I mean, we can go to Q&A, and then.
I just want to make sure I have the right stuff.
So yeah, what I did was I reached out to everybody earlier, and I asked you to send in some questions. If I can see the list there. If there's things that you wanted to know about, because like I said, there was a lot of blowback on things. And there's a couple key points that I really want to touch on that I think will help better make things understandable for everybody here, guys. So, Cindy, thank you very much. And right here, I think that really is, I got mad respect for you, CJ, even if I don't agree with you. Cindy, thank you. Thank you. That's, I mean, not just for me, but for everybody. That's how we should operate. Just respect the fact that you may not agree with each other, but you don't have to hate somebody because they don't have the same views as you. That's where, I mean, you look at religious warfare, like things like that, where the atrocities of history have come down to the lack of similar beliefs, and it's terrible. It's tragic, and I think that's what's causing so much dissension in our country and so much polarized differences. I can say this right now, something that I feel was really interesting. I talked to a woman the other day who's 97 years old. She's lived through the World War. She's seen the effects on the Vietnam War and the Korean War on America. She's been through the Great Depression. She's seen things in her life that I don't think any of us will ever be able to fully comprehend. And when I asked her how she felt about the world today, she said it broke her heart to see how divided America was today, because it's worse than she's ever experienced. And coming from what she's already gone through, that broke my heart to hear that at 97 years old, she was sad to think that our country can't find a way to come together and have a better understanding that we can work together as a people. But even during the World War, people came together, we bonded together, and we found a way as a country to work collectively to defeat real fascism. During the Depression, we found a way to rally and fight back. There was ways that as a country, we were able to move into a healing state. And I think that we need to focus on that and push that direction. But anyway, I think it was really incredible to
One of the questions that we've gotten.
So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, one of the questions we've gotten several times is, in the nighttime footage, why didn't you break up more fights when you saw things happening?
Okay, so the question that was asked was, during the clash between the Proud Boys and Antifa, why did I not break up more fights? A couple things to keep in mind, guys. First of all, I wasn't there for security. Okay, my job wasn't to go over there and to stop people from scrapping. And like I said before, they both were out for a fight. They both went out looking for a fight. I don't condone violence, and I definitely don't feel like that's going to solve anything at all. But I realize that those groups are so at odds and so ready to sharks and jets that that's where they were going to go. Now, things did happen during those scraps where I did involve myself, and we'll see some of the videos here. Sorry, so I'm going to finish addressing what I'm saying. So I did jump in and break. There was a guy who was on the ground getting beat on pretty bad, and you'll hear me. I was, hey, get up. And I pushed everybody off him as best I could and helped him get up. He made it a little bit further and went down. And actually, to be real about it, my sister was the one who I thought I'd left safely away from the fray, but she had made her way into the crowd as well and helped him up again. So collectively as a family, we were able to help get someone out of the fray. There was another person who had a knife that had been stabbing at people and cutting people that got knocked out. When she was helped up, she almost fell down again. I rushed in, tried to keep her on her feet, helped her on her feet. And then there was another situation where someone was getting beat up. There was a fight. They got up and they ran away. The police, keep in mind, the police were very present, guys. There was a lot of police presence there. I am not going to jump into a fight where the police are involved. That is where you find yourself catching charges. You don't obstruct justice, and the police are there to elicit. They're there to elicit justice. That's their job. I'm not there to do their job for them, and it's not my job to police the protesters, the Proud Boys, or anybody. I'm as a journalist, if that's the title that we're going to operate under, I'm here to observe and stand back. And if you watch a lot of the footage, like from places like Town Hall and some of these other places that we're filming, you'll see me on camera where they backed off down the street. I kind of moved my way in because that's what I do. Now, right off the bat, there was pepper spray being hosed down everywhere, and I got dosed off pretty bad. So the entire time, then the police hit me with the string as well. So I'm working through that to begin with. And then you're dealing with these fights that are happening. And I'm doing my best to navigate the crowd and watch my six as well, because I saw the press get attacked as well. And that's the big thing to keep in mind is these fights are happening. I have to do my best to make sure that I don't get my head smashed in as well. Like there's violence around me at all 360s. What you're seeing in front of me is one thing. My head's on the swivel at all times because what happens behind me is a real danger. So that being said, moving into the overall aspect of my control for the night, like there's only so much I can do. You know what I mean? And there's only so much that I can actually keep safe in my bubble. And part of it, once I realized that my sister here had decided that she was going to, and we're going to have a video pop up here in a second, once my partner in crime here figures it out. So it is. So, but in just a second, we're going to pull it up. So I had to watch her back as well, make sure that I got her out of the way and she wasn't in harm's way. But yeah, there was fights that happened. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about some of the things to keep in mind, guys. Is that I had seen and heard that the other side, the Antifa side, from where I was standing at that point, had been attacking people all day. And then I saw footage of them not just attacking people, like throwing mortar shells at restaurants, outdoor dining, and like violently attacking people. And the options are at that point, the stories that are happening in the streets. Hold on, pause it real quick. The stories that are happening in the streets are either for me to cover from a safety standpoint or put myself out there and have my head get smashed in potentially by a brick from behind me. And you guys, like, I got a big dome piece. It's an easy target. I got to be real careful about where I wave this thing around. Okay. So, when it came, and let's get real about it right here. I've been stabbed multiple times. I got stabbed in the liver a handful of times stopping a mugging in Seattle with a gang, and it was a large group. And I ended up taking a steak knife from the Outback Steakhouse, which was sad because I don't even like the Outback. Not that there's anything against it. It's not my place. And it's got stabbed in the liver a handful of times. And that was terrible. So these situations hit me close to home. When I see these things happening and people being hurt in crowds, it's not something that I, on an operational standpoint, from my moral compass, was able to just sit back at all times and watch. So I do my best to help when I can. you guys, and I do have a standard that I maintain, but it's just it's hard for me to do everything. And people think that they say what they would have done, and like I can't see this comment here because it went by too fast, but energy there was a time. I definitely wouldn't have followed them around and chit chatted with them the rest of the day about why they attacked him and stuff. But I definitely wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been as welcome as CJ had been around all of them. Trey, I think you're asking some questions here, and I'm curious about what you're saying. So I'm going to pull it up here because I'm curious. I don't think I'll be able to see him. Chit chatted with them the rest of the day without asking, attacking and stuff. But I definitely wouldn't have been as welcome as CJ had been around all of them. I think CJ, and I can't see the rest of it. Sorry, but confused and neutral. And Jared, I don't know what you said, but it's whatever. You and I have talked offline a little bit, so I think that we can agree to disagree or maybe agree to agree. I don't know where we're both at with it, but I do know that anyone who says, and Jared, I'm going to give you the go ahead on this one, and appreciate that. Really, you don't know what you're going to do in a situation until you're in said situation. And some things that happen are pretty effing scary, guys. Like there's some shit that happens out in those streets that is pretty intimidating. When you see a large group and you don't know how to read it, like you could be the target pretty quick. Much like what happened in Seattle. So Jared, we're talking about that, going into that. I've already told you, man, I don't fault you. I don't fault you at all. You know what I mean? I don't hold any hard feelings about that at all, because I do appreciate, and I said this before, this doesn't change just because of what happened here. I appreciate that no one really knows what you're going to do until the situation comes up to do it. You know what I mean? We can all talk about how we're going to deal with a bear attack, but until the bear starts gnawing on the back of your skull, good luck figuring that out, guys. That being said, what happened in one of the clips, and we're going to talk a little bit about it and kind of move a little bit further than here. And if you're another streamer, you have issues with what I do, pause that real quick. If you are, like, I just saw someone say, if you're another streamer, why do you want to come in here and give me grief? My whole thing is on that one, guys. Appreciate that you do you. I'm going to do me, okay? But for critiquing what I had to go through and what I'm dealing with on my end, come on, man. Let's be smarter about how we handle people, okay? I don't know what you're doing right now, but the video was fine.
I was going to do the first video where you stopped the fight.
Okay, we'll get that dialed in and get it on screen ready to go, and then I'll pop it up.
All right.
Cool, thank you. So, but yeah, there's plenty of stuff that happened out there that I didn't agree with, guys, on both sides. So, this is hey, Adam, to be very clear, that's the last thing you want to question. You're really talking to the wrong guy about that. And the woman that were in question, when I looked down, was not a woman. To be clear, it was a guy with long hair. If that's what we're talking about, not that it matters, because it's not my job to jump in and save every person. I can only do what I can do with the best of what I have to work with. So, yeah, hey, no. So the burrito guy, like he was saying, he got stabbed. The burrito guy, Katie, right here. So burrito guy was way too close. They didn't know if that was molesting you, checking your pockets, or stabbing you. But what someone else said was he had every right to be mad because he got attacked by DC Antifa a week before and got stabbed in the leg 4 times and robbed. So, yeah, Angie, you said it right. There is too many filled with hate and sides. If you think you need to choose a side, you are part of me. That's the thing, Angie. Thank you for saying that. You don't need to pick a side, guys. Oh, shoot. What happened? What did I do? Oh, it went away for a second.
That was on you, not on me.
Yeah, right. All right. So, hey, we're going to go ahead and jump in here. I keep saying it, but we're going to talk about what happened. So, go ahead and hit play on that. Hopefully, the audio will pop up for us.
Okay, and that's...
There we go. I hope you can hear me on the screen. Can you guys hear me over the video right now? I believe you can. I'm going to go ahead and make myself. So it's a little bit choppy, guys. It's grainy out here, but hopefully it smooths out a little bit. But as you can see, the Proud Boys jump in here, and they have the shield wall over there. And I don't know why it's so. You just pop in this way? Right there, Pago. So right there, you guys saw that was the initial go ahead for the pepper spray when that came out. Right off the bat, that was something that you're starting to suck up, and that's no good at all. So anyway, yeah, trying to deal through that is no fun at all, man. So we're gonna try to found a little bit of a delay, and I'm not sure why it's telling me to do it, but you can see that people are big drawing, and there's what happened was you had people that were pulled out from that line, and they ended up getting pulled over into like this Proud Boy section over here. Now, keep in mind, the Proud Boy group wasn't as big as people might think. There was a lot of people that were supporting what they were out to do. So there was a lot of Trump folks that were out there, Trump supporters that were out as well. So it wasn't just a big gang of Proud Boys, but there was both sides. Keep in mind, there's two sides of this clash here. There's a shield wall here. There's a lineup of dudes in black and yellow here, and they were looking to fight. They went down the middle, and they ended up clashing in the street. This is what happened. And to be clear about it, they were looking for a fight. They weren't looking for me to be out there policing that fight. They weren't looking for me to jump in there and be the one to go ahead and moderate this event, to pick, someone's saying right here. It wasn't my job to go ahead and tell people what they should and shouldn't do, guys. I'm there to record what's happening. But I do my best, like you'll see right here, to help somebody on the ground.
Shit! Fucking Tommy! Right, hey! Up!
So, for people that were curious about my involvement with the fights, that is me yelling. I'm not saying hey to someone behind me. I'm saying hey as I'm pushing people off to the side from the person that was curled up on the ground getting kicked. Then I grab him and help him up, and that's the best I could do at the moment to stop myself, to stop what was happening, to also avoid getting my own face kicked in, guys. Because keep in mind, in that mob mentality, they're not looking at you as there's somebody by somebody's name, unless you're wearing that black and yellow uniform. It's just like a football field. You see color on the field, you just go after it. I happen to be a guy out there that they don't know. What do you think is going to happen? So I did my best at that point to jump in and help that person as best I could. Mike, thank you. I love you, Mike. Hope you're doing great. Yeah, go ahead and hit play. The guy goes back down right here. Now keep going. I'm doing this. I'm doing my best to get to the crowd. You can see all that well at this point.
Holy shit.
If you watch to the right here, someone that's recording, that's the media is getting attacked right now. And that's an issue that comes up as well, is that when you have someone else that's in press or media and they're getting smashed on and they're not more than 7 feet in front of me, standing there just holding a camera, there's an assumption like you must be Antifa. I think she had a gas mask on. So there's that, that's the uniform of Antifa, whatever. And so she got attacked, which is terrible. You don't want to see anybody get attacked for being out on the streets. If people want to fight, they can go ahead and fight. Like I've got a strong policy that I don't do someone on the deck, which means I'm not going to, if I've been in plenty of fights in my day, I had a rough upbringing, I guess, whatever, rough and tumble neighborhoods. But I've had to handle my own, and I've never stomped anybody out. And that's something where situations like that, where you have to do your best to jump in. You know what I mean?
Oh shit.
And so this is one of the questions someone says, Michael Lynn, or is that Michael Lynn? Yeah. Someone said here at the PB we're at the hotel and then heard that the BLM and Antifa were tagging people in the streets. Is that true? That's what I had heard from them when I was following that group around. They had said that there was, the way they reported it was that they were having dinner and they heard that people were getting attacked and that they were throwing mortar shells at restaurants. And we have that video here as well. If you guys didn't see that, that's something else to keep in mind. I wasn't able to cover that but because they don't want people following them with cameras, and I'd already been singled out at one point, so that's an issue that is tough to deal with on that one. So, but they had definitely elicited violence already earlier in the night. So, go ahead. And I apologize for this video being so
You're the police.
The other factor to keep in mind here, guys, is the police were very present. Like I said, there was tons of police out in DC doing their job to stop these fights as best they saw fit and to go ahead and get involved. And they were never far. They were always right around the corner, like right there. And you'll see that plenty throughout the course of this unfortunate choppy video.
Do you want to do it on like?
You make it
Yeah. Oh shit! Share the stream, y'all. Share the stream. They're still pepper spraying. Watch the back. Watch the back.
So one of the things you saw in that video was the initial clash when the Proud Boys were on the street. Antifa was lined up. They had their shield wall set up, and then boom. Usually, what I've seen in all my coverage is you got the Antifa line or the BLM line, whatever you want to call it, the BLM line, because usually that's what it says right on the shield there. And then you've got the police line, and then the police rush the shields, and then they have their clash. That's what happens. So whatever it is, the group that was out there, that's the group that was out there. I'm not going to say whether it was BLM or Antifa, but I did see plenty of Antifa flags and things of that nature. So you guys can formulate that on your own. But one of the things that to keep in mind is that they found themselves in the street and they ended up clashing. They have their own people. Keep in mind that I'm here, right? There's this huge group here and this big group here, and they're fighting here. And so the issues that I think people had were that they said that I stood back and watched. I think there's this assumption that I'm there, like I said before, to be the guy that's going to keep the peace. Now, I'll do the best I can with what I can. I can't stop the entire world from battling. All we can do is hopefully educate people a little bit more, so ask more questions and then throw punches. But it's not my call to be in there to do that, guys. But I will do that should I have the opportunity and I can jump in and help out. That fight continued on. That was not Brandon, to be real. Question that came up. Brandon Bates asked, CJ, was that a woman that got beat right after that? Not the one knocked out, but the one with the blood. No, it was not a woman. And not that it should matter because it sucks seeing someone get beat on bad, but no one saw the preamble to that. What happened when that person initially had a clash with one of those Proud Boys? They had scrapped, they exchanged a situation and then got into a fight. And then it got broken up because the police got involved. And keep in mind, the police were right there. You see me walk through a policeman as he streams his mace. Is that the one we have up right here?
This is the one where the person gets that they think it's a woman, but it's not.
Yeah.
We don't have this, but the person who he's fighting with, the guy who got beat up a bunch, had just stabbed the other guy in the leg. So like the Antifa kid who they thought was a woman had gone through and had stabbed someone in the thigh or in the leg.
Oh, okay.
And that's what you heard him yelling. He's like, you stabbed me in the leg.
Oh, so there we go. So
and I saw that part from where I was. Right?
So from the other vantage point, from my sister, her angle was hearing the person that came up with the knife. Well, no, that was another person because they had a knife from someone in the street that got knocked out. But he was saying to the person while the police were dealing with him, he's like, "You just stabbed me in the leg. You just stabbed me in the leg." And that's the person that was getting beat on. It wasn't a man. It wasn't a woman. It was a man. And I think there was confusion because somebody from the back was yelling, "Get her!" And I think they saw long hair and immediately assumed it was a woman. Which is why, to be very clear about that one, everyone's like, oh, you were just filming someone while they were getting beat. No, the police had already broken it up and had people that were detained behind me and around me and in front of me. I was curious about the same thing. Was it a man or a woman that was getting beat up on? Because it was a concerning moment for me. So when I crouched down and looked in, saw that it was a dude, a guy, whatever. Not that it, again, doesn't change the fact that it was a violent act. But violence in that situation, guys, we all know violence begets violence. So that's the course of action that we're seeing. So,
I mean, the guy went into a crowd of people and was stabbing them, and then he was left by himself. His friends left, and then this is what happened.
and that's one of the things that you did see happen was that you had people that were singled out. Even the Antifa side, like someone would get grabbed in the shield wall or whatever, they would back up, and that person was getting stomped on. I would hope that they would police their own and maybe jump in if they wanted to fight. I would assume that you're going to get in there. There was, I want to say there was 5 or 8 stabbings from either way. But I'm doing my, you're right, yeah, Brandon, I don't know about the idiots, but people, yeah, if people wanted to fight, you're going to get a fight. And if you start brandishing weapons, like everyone could have easily, you could easily leave, right? You don't have to be in those streets. You don't have to be there. The Proud Boys could have left. They could have stayed in their hotels and not got involved. The Antifa kids could have stayed home. The Antifa people, I don't want to say kids, I'm not trying to be pejorative, but the Antifa crowd could have not gone out in the streets. They could have not done what they did. And when the fight started looking like it was going to clash, they could have said, hey, you know what? We're done with this. We're going to skip. Ego gets involved. Pride gets involved. A lot of anger and all that, like that, you know, that bloodlust comes out, and then people end up brawling. And that's what happens.
So if you want, the kid who gets beat up, actually, this is an earlier video of him, but also the beat up video first.
So yeah, we're doing our best to show you guys videos here, but again, it's a tough one because it's probably, I don't know if it's as choppy on your side as it is while I'm watching here. But there were guns recovered on the scene, and there was a rescue on both sides. So where are we at here? What is this one? No, we're just getting an idea of what
this is the one who they think is a woman, who's a man.
Okay, yeah, and here's
the one who just stabbed somebody or stabbed another.
And this is that clip that we're talking about right now. So.
No, I'm not over there. I'm staying. I'm good. Yes, sir. Gotcha. That's that high power pepper spray right here. He's got in his hand, I think. Looks like they're still doing aid on one of the people that got stomped out pretty bad. Oh yeah.
Man, this is what things shift a little bit. This initial strap to the one where they had apparently somebody that stabbed someone in the leg in the crowd here. That was right here. Was misconstrued as. Go here.
This is the cop.
No, don't.
Back up, Tommy! Back up! Back up! Back up! Ah, fucking pepper spray.
But right off the bat, you see the police are involved.
Let him go! Let him go! Hey, stop! Stop!
And you can hear the people are very involved in policing. And the guy runs off again, and I can't tell what it was, but I thought they might have been. But then you see people policing that situation. They'd already been shot on pretty bad, and they were done. Like at this point, I believe that you can be very clear about the fact that the police are right there. The police are right there now. The police are right behind us the whole time. They're doing their best to get involved. Maybe I apologize for the choppy nature of the feedback. So hopefully, we're able to see a little bit better what's going on. But yeah,
Back up, back up, back up. What happened here? It was a senior. Yeah. Hey, I got this. This came off.
so it was one of the exchanges that there was a lot of confusion about, and I hope that that clarifies again. Oh, so yeah, my audio should be there. I don't know if you could hear audio. You could hear audio through the film, right? I hope you could hear that. But I had to mute me for a second there. But either way, it doesn't matter. You know, it was a violent exchange. People got hurt. People very well could have gone home and done something different. But I apologize for the video being so choppy. If you want to watch the full footage of the clip, I believe it's at like our minute marker, hour and 40 minutes into the film, 42.
I'll share the YouTube clip.
Yeah, and we'll share the clip for you guys if you want to go out and watch it yourself. That's fine. Hopefully, you're able to get a better idea of it from your standpoint here. But again, there was violence begets violence, guys. These people were not out looking to have peaceful protests that evening. There was an exchange that happened between people that were eating dinner in front of a hotel. They had a mortar shell thrown at them that blew up in a group of people, and tables flipped, and you know, there was people that were attacked. An old man was kicked over on a bike. There was a young couple that was filmed that was getting attacked. There was a guy with his daughter, his little child, that was being attacked. And say what you want. You guys can say what you want to antagonize something. You can say all you want. You guys can call me whatever you want to call me. It doesn't mean that I'm going to come out swinging at you. You know what I mean? Suck it up. I'm not going to come out calling you anything. I don't want to get punched because I know that might be the result, but it doesn't make it okay, right? And so these people had clashes already with innocent bystanders and whatnot. Did they try to provoke something out of them? Quite possibly. I don't know. I wasn't there. Again, that's the whole thing about a live stream, is that all I can do is cover what I'm covering and see what I'm seeing and let you see it with me while I'm seeing it. So one of the things that is difficult to deal with, though, is that it's easy from an observatory standpoint to say what I should have done. It's easy from an observatory standpoint to say what you would have done. But the reality of rubber meeting the road, of the actionable like moment, is very different. Like those points in our lives, I think some people can only go back to. No, I don't blame anybody for being angry. Kathy, to be clear, I don't blame the Proud Boys for being angry. And Antifa, and I said this before, but I'll get to that in a moment. One of the things I want to make very clear is that talking about that, you don't know what you're going to do till the situation comes up till you're going to do it in, right? And a lot of us, most people I talk to have never even been in a fist fight. Most people I know have never had a physical altercation where they've had to deal with something along those lines. So it is really easy to say, hey, you should have armchair quarterback that all day, guys. But at the end of it all, like until you've been out in that mix, let's not talk about what you would have done. Okay. Things that could have been done is people could have not been violent from the beginning. They could not have done their part to elicit, a response from people, but it happened. So it's just sad to see, because again, there's so much anger from both sides. One of the things I will touch on is that I don't believe that if you're looking at Antifa, if you're looking at that group, if you get all of them together, right? I believe that in there's a passion. There has to be a core belief, a fundamental understanding that they want to make a difference. They want to make an impact. And granted, I might be wrong, but I want to believe that in there, they have an understanding that somewhere in there, and the ideology of that belief system, that things need to change and they want to make that change. I think that you get any group big enough, much like the Proud Boys or any other group, people are going to try to generalize and say, oh, they're all white supremacists. They're not all white supremacists. I think that within that, I've talked to people that are in the Antifa, or that are self-claimed Antifa, that are incredibly well-educated, that are incredibly friendly, that are some of the nicest people. I met a guy in D.C. actually, who was incredible. Awesome dude. Talked about family. We talked about the universe. We talked about, he blew my mind with the guy's knowledge, and but had no problem saying that he was Antifa. But he was also an older dude, in his 50s, and been around the block a little bit, and was able to talk from a place of experience and understanding from life that he's lived. So It didn't mean that he was out there burning buildings down or attacking people in the streets. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have his belief system, that he doesn't fundamentally believe a certain way. Like, there's all these things that happen. And like, you've seen it so often, especially, like post 9/11, people say, oh, he's Muslim, he must be a terrorist, that kind of thing. It's terrible. It's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. So to generalize people, but we saw how that worked out. Like, throughout the day into the night, people were getting attacked in the streets for wearing a Trump hat or for waving a banner, but they were all in town for that reason. And they were being attacked for their beliefs, physically attacked and assaulted. That's not acceptable. You can't accept that. I won't accept it. I won't accept it for myself. And I hope that anyone out there would make a change on the way they believe things, if that's how you feel things should be done. But yeah, but in here, guys, I hope that, again, I don't know how the comments working out. I know we have, about 1,200 people in here with us right now, on multiple platforms, probably. I hope that you guys are able to maintain some civility in our conversations here. And I really hope that as we move into the progression of this understanding, that we can get better about it. There's comments that pop up here that I won't jump into, but I don't understand what they mean because of that. So, but the comments that I do see that I feel are important enough for me to talk about, we'll go ahead and throw up on screen. There were some other questions.
This one asked at what point you decided to jump in as a streamer.
So someone asked, stance of being unbiased, Haley says, okay, so legit question. I understand that your stance is being unbiased. I understand self-preservation, even if I don't like it. I don't understand what you mean by not. If you understand self-preservation and don't like it, I would hope that if you get chased by a cougar, you're going to run. You know what I mean? But when do you step in as a streamer to keep a woman from being bloody and beaten, no matter what side you're on? When do you step in? When you see it happening, and when you can. I unfortunately, again, you don't see everything happening in front of you. What happens on the lens, you guys keep in mind. Like, if I'm holding a camera right here while I'm in the process, you take that comment down there. You got to go back and find it.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, you got to scroll back to where it was. Anyway, you're looking. This is what the lens is seeing, right? So right out here, this is what you're seeing. Here, I can do it. There you go. This is the view you have. The view from behind this on my end is one of these, where you're having to look around to see where else is going on. So you're not able to see everything that's right in front of you. You know the action's happening right there, and this is how that stream world works out. You know what's happening right out. I got it the wrong way there. You see what's happening out here, right, on your end of it while you're watching. For me, on my end, what I'm seeing is 100 and the 360 degrees of everything going on around me. So, anyway.
The person said they were the ones having dinner that night.
Okay, pop that up there. So, Leanne, Cothran, Aaron Wadge is a commercial grade mortar firework, and it's true. My sister and I were on the unfortunates to be having dinner. We did not, nor did anyone else, do anything to antagonize them. There you go. And if you guys didn't see that video, like, a mortar shell was thrown at an outdoor diner that blew up, and could have. I mean, I've been hit by those mortar shells, and they burn. Like, they're incendiary. They blow up, and it sends sparks, and not shrapnel so much, but flaming molten whatever you put inside of a big ass firework, and that's terrible. So I'm sorry that you had to experience that. Where's the questions? No, little. Sorry. Well, we're going to look at some of these that are here. So I'm hoping more questions will pop up. So I definitely want to talk about as much as possible and touch on as much as possible.
I'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
How do you this was the first time I'd been like in that kind of, can they hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Like the first time I'd been in something that was like viciously violent. Not like I've seen people get in fights before, but this was more
Just
like.
look at your camera.
Unmute.
That's not going to work. Nope.
Yeah.
That's not right.
There we go.
So anyway, you were saying.
So anyway.
Iterations, guys, we're getting there.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd been in a situation where it wasn't like two people just come into fisticuffs. It was like they wanted they had the scent of blood. They got someone on the ground, and there was just a couple people in the faction who were like so angry they were going to stomp it out. I unfortunately watched those videos before bedtime when we got home, and it was tough.
Okay.
Like, it's hard to get rid of that. How do you leave that and go with your life?
You don't. That's the thing. So the question was, I'm sure you guys heard it, was how do you process all the stuff that you see out in the streets when you're dealing with watching a lot of this conflict and whatnot? You don't really, it sticks with you. A lot of it sticks with you. And you do your best to kind of push it out and not let it kind of negate your operational standpoint. But you do your best to process that. And I think that the big issue is that we're becoming more desensitized, I think, to a lot of things. And that's sad to me because it's happening at a younger age right now. And it's tough because kids are becoming more commonplace to see things happening, more violent actions. And you're seeing younger kids out there in the streets that are doing violent things, and it's terrible. I think we as older individuals, as like the older generations, we need to spend more time focusing on our young people and trying to help them better understand and even process through what we're seeing in these streets right now. And hopefully we get to a place where what we're seeing right now, like what happened on Saturday, isn't happening. I mean, we can move away from that. But I think that combat and conflict are going to be part of every day, are going to be part of our lives for as long as we're alive. But Danny Brandy says, CJ, what did you learn from this trip? And if you touched on this, sorry, but I tuned in. What did I learn from this trip? Well, it gave me a better understanding of the Proud Boys, kind of what they were doing. They were out. Their idea was that they were out to clean the streets. What I came out for initially was to cover that million mega man march, whatever you want to call it, the mega march, the mega million march, whatever, the Stop the Steal protest. What I did learn was that there was a lot of people that feel really strong that the ballots were rigged and that the election was fraudulent. I didn't expect that many people to show up. I legitimately thought maybe there was going to be a handful of people that were going to come out, maybe locals, but there were people. Even the plane that I went on from Seattle was full of people that were coming for this event. It just blew my mind. The whole way over, I was just at a point where I was like, oh my gosh, man, this is crazy. There's so many people right now that are heading to DC right now for this event. But when I got there, I had no idea. I had no idea there was going to be tens of thousands of people that were out there. And it's still going. There's still things happening in DC. They were having walkaway rallies. They were having other marches and whatnot that were going on. So yeah, there's still plenty of stuff happening right now in DC, but I was really shocked. Didn't expect it. So let's look. I'm gonna go into some of the questions here. There was not 1.5 million, just to be clear. It wasn't 1.5. I think someone just said there's 1.5 million. And where are we at over here? So we'll just let this kind of roll up in the corner here, and you guys can take a look at that. But any other questions that pop in here? Sorry, I'm going to try to get them. They're coming in pretty quick, guys, so I apologize. And it's going to lag a little. I apologize, but at least you can kind of see what I'm looking at here. There was a lot of folks. Had a long phone while they was Trey, what are you talking about, man? There's a guy that I got nothing but love for, man. Good dude down in Eugene doing his thing. And people are really quick to go ahead and put like I said, title people, but that's not acceptable, man. Trey Stewart, I got nothing bad to say about you, bro. I think you're a good dude. Anyway, but there was a lot of people. You guys can see how many people are here. And again, I apologize for being so choppy. This was it was hard to even get. It was hard to get any kind of reception, but this is just a video. For whatever reason, the feed that we have is it's just laggy, but whatever. You can see what's going on. You see how many people are out here, and it was happening. Yeah, they were in. So Sherry, you were saying there were many cities that were having this. I'm curious if you have any idea as to how many people nationwide were actually out for this. Are you saying 1.2 million nationwide? If that's the case, that would be understandable. You know what I mean? But 2 million, you're saying, not obviously not in in D.C., but maybe 2 million nationwide. Who knows? I can't tell. But I do know that what happened was there was not 2 million.
There's not
Yeah, I know that much. But there's a lot of people there. But I want to make it clear, guys, that my actions at the event were meant to cover the story. And I did end up following the Proud Boys around, but not just them. There was a large group that was out there. There was a lot of people marching. They had that huge flag that was like 100 feet long, 50 feet wide, whatever it was. They were marching down the middle of the street. And so I was following that march. And then again, the Proud Boys kind of showed up and mixed in with them. So I did my best to follow the people that were out in the streets in DC, because again, I flew cross country to cover the event, and sadly the daytime left me in a position where I couldn't do as much coverage as I would have liked. So I had to go ahead and relegate myself to the evening, and the coverage was able to be caught, but that's where the action was happening. So anyway.
I think this is the video of the girl not letting me talk.
The video, it's kind of choppy. So I would recommend you guys go into my YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you guys want to go on the evening platform to watch those videos. During the daytime, I was on just YouTube. I'm sorry, on Facebook, just on Facebook. And I was able to do some live streaming. And yeah, Joseph, tell me, leave me alone. I'm just a journalist. Get my back. I appreciate that. And check out the videos, man.
This might be different. This was video straight from your phone and not on like not streamed. So
Yeah.
maybe better. I'm gonna try it out.
Say again?
So this one was, I directly got this from your phone. It wasn't one that we rebroadcast. You think it would be better?
We try. Give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. We're gonna try. Here we go. There's no audio on this one, so
Yeah, this is
either way, yeah, you guys can see what's going on here. So here we go.
it's just as choppy.
Yeah, it's super choppy, guys. I apologize, but hopefully you can kind of see what's going on here. And I'm trying to look at comments. So I'll let you guys kind of look at this while I'm looking at comments here. Doing my best, guys. Like I said, they're coming in super fast.
If I switch to the other Wi-Fi, I won't mess up our stream if I don't miss anything.
You won't mess up my stream. I would hope not. Hey, if anything happens, guys, we'll have to jump back in. If it cuts out, we'll cut back in.
So in this video right here, CJ's standing on the side with the BLM Antifa and the other press, and the pro-Trump supporters are on. You're facing the pro-Trump supporters, and this is
it's froze. Yeah, it's froze on your screen right now, guys. So, but what you're seeing on the screen right now, if it's still froze, is on the left. Under this there, you see the flags and there's the police. But on the left side here is where there was a lot of press and like the BLM side, which was, and I say that because you're seeing that on the shield, on the shields that were out there. It's not just my view on them. So that's what's happening over here. And then you got, like I said, a lot of press and media that are mixed in with that group. There wasn't that many. There really wasn't as many, not nearly as many as I thought there was going to be. Honestly, like during the election night, there was a ton more. There was hundreds of folks that were all blacked out that were out there on that march. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I was reading something while I said that, but that's the difference in the two groups here. There was only, not nearly as many. There's maybe 50 to 75 of them. But you can kind of see how many people. There's a lot of folks that were out on the other side of that fence that were feeling some sort of way. Yeah.
And then this is the view from the other side of the fence. This is from my side.
Okay, and then we're going to see a view from the other side of the fence here real quick. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. We're going to try pull that up, but we're still frozen on this one here. So I'm going to remove that one. I'm going to go back here. So, questions. I know there's a lot of conversation that's happening here, guys. So I'm looking for question marks. So If you have a question you want me to go ahead and answer, please go ahead and toss it up here, but with question marks, so I can kind of see what your question is. And
So you are actually right here behind us.
let's do this. We'll see if that works. And it's just running slow, guys. I apologize. So.
The line of people in front of the cops are the press and the Antifa and the BLM supporters, and then that huge crowd you saw was the pro-Trump.
One of the things I want to be clear. Okay, here we go. For you, what is your whole take on the riots? Mary Hopwood Watch. What is my take on the whole riots and the mess that is going on in the world today? I think it's terrible. I think it's absolutely terrible. It's one of those things that you want to see change. You want better for the world. You want to see people do better. But I understand that there's a lot of people that are angry. People are hurting, and people are trying to find a way to express that. And it's still, I don't stand behind or condone them going out destroying property or hurting people or destroying people's livelihood or putting people in a position where they feel threatened in their own homes or in their own streets. It's never acceptable, and I'll never get behind that. But we need to get to a place where we can change the way people operate, change the way that people interact, because if we keep going in that direction, guys, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And we're going to polarize to a point where we're going to have militias in the streets, and we're going to have guns. We're going to have situations like what happened in Kenosha. And I hate talking about it too much, but you saw what happened in that. And I know it's going to bring up a ton of questions here, guys. And I'm not going to jump into Kenosha, guys, because we've been down there before, and it's just more than I want to dig into tonight. But I want to say right now, I have covered things on both sides, and to talk very bluntly, and people give me grief. And again, you guys, I'm going to do my best to just be as real as possible with you guys, because I try to maintain. I'm going to try to be as authentic as humanly possible. So I'm going to tell you very clearly that, like, I've covered BLM events in different states that have been incredible, that have been beautiful and moving and powerful and prolific in a way that opened me up and had me ask questions about my own understanding of what BLM even means. And I say that because they were operating with the understanding and principles of Black Lives Matter, right? Now there's people that they talk about, and you heard that in conversations a lot in the streets in DC on Saturday, about the Black Lives Matter organization, and then the understanding that goes behind Black Lives Mattering. Is that a word, mattering?
I'm going to say yeah for the second.
We're gonna go with the yeah. But I've covered some marches that were incredibly peaceful. That had we walked for 38 miles on one point for pro voter to elicit voter awareness, and in that there was a large BLM presence, and it was peaceful and it was powerful. And I went to an event in Chicago that was hosted by the families of some of the victims of the police shootings that have taken place and police brutality, and we're talking about some of these other people, and they were touching. I'm a very empathic individual, and it opened me up to feeling things that I wasn't expecting to feel. And then I was, standing on the streets while the Proud Boys were out there and all these supporters, and they were singing the national anthem and whatnot. And I got all choked up. I'm like, wow, this is, you feel it. And it's like going to an outdoor service for church almost at sometimes, and you start feeling the presence of the gospel. And but for whatever it might be, there's things in our life that we need to be more curious about and less confrontational about. And I think I said it the other day that Walt Whitman said we need to be curious, not combative, or not confrontation. I think it was Walt Whitman who said it. You don't quote me on that, but if you do, go ahead. But pushing right into it, guys. I've seen a lot of things, not just in my coverage here, but in my life. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of incredible things, a lot of really beautiful and amazing things that have taken place. And I've been through a lot. I've gone through a lot. I went through a period of time where I made a lot of really bad decisions. I made a lot of bad choices. Got myself in a lot of trouble, and I experienced a lot of pain at my own doing. And I appreciate that there's a lot of people out there that are hurting, and there's a lot of people that are going through things of their own life. You know what I mean? That we'll never really truly understand, but we need to be more sympathetic to the fact that there's a lot of people out there that are going through things. And we don't have to go ahead and jump on that bandwagon of hate because we don't understand. We need to ask those questions and better move in a direction of the humanitarian approach at life. Better holding on to our fellow brothers and sisters, and catering up a place of peace and welcoming arm, right? Say what you will about me, guys, but I'm a believer that that's possible. And I really do feel that we can move in that direction. As things progress in our nation, if we can't let go of our anger towards someone for having a different belief, we will never grow as a nation. And we're going to start to deteriorate more so than we already are seeing right now. You know, and we saw it in the streets of D.C. We saw some things I wish we wouldn't have had to see. We also saw the results of a lot of buildup for things that we knew were probably going to happen eventually. So, you know, when the writing's on the wall sometimes, man. But it's ridiculous to have yourself. What frustrates me, guys, is when I go out and I do coverage, I want to be very clear. I'm not working for anybody. I work for me and I work for you, really, the viewer, the people that are out here that are looking to see things. I ask questions that I feel are going to be relevant to the understanding, that for my personal understanding, for my growth and my development, things that the host has muted your mic. No, you haven't. But anyway, and I'm hoping that you guys are getting the same answers to the same questions, and we're able to keep moving forward in that direction. So, but people don't always agree with what I do. You know what I mean? And it's funny that you get judged for going out and just covering a story. You know what I mean? They're going to hear something that might make them feel that you're a certain way. If you want to get to know me, guys, ask some questions or watch my feeds. You know what I mean? Go back through and watch them. And I'm hoping that we can put people's mind at ease. That while I was covering the Proud Boys for a period of time, because that's what was going on in the streets, it doesn't mean I'm a Proud Boy. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything the Proud Boys believe. It doesn't mean that I stand behind what I saw in the streets out there. I was doing my coverage the way I have from the jump. Nobody was in my helmet when we were down covering things in front of like the federal building in Portland, and there was mortar shells getting thrown. It was just a spectacle that people were watching. They weren't asking me why I wasn't going out and stopping people from throwing water bottles and, you know, and honey and mortar shells at a federal building and the federal agents over there. I was just covering what was happening. So keep that in mind, guys. I'm out here to do my best to see the world for you and to hear what I'm hearing for you, which is why I bring a microphone where I go, man. I'd rather hear what people have to say than see what they look like. You know what I mean? So the whole reason I did this today, guys, what was to really remind everybody that I'm not changing. You know, I'm learning as I go through it. The bias that people might think is coming out is an educational and understanding that I have, and I do my best to maintain a fine line. And if things come through, I'm not going to apologize for it, but I will say that it's not what I focus on trying to do. But it does happen, and but I'm doing it as best I can. You know. Yeah, but if you guys have any questions about relationships I have with other people, feel free to ask them. You know, it's not my place to put. It's really, honestly, some of those things are none of your business. And I'll say that. I was watching the feed earlier, and they were talking to Denzel Washington at the screening of one of his movies, and they kept asking him political questions. And finally, he was like, "You know, it's none of your business, man. I think it's really none of your business. I'm here to talk about my movie. That's none of your business." But I appreciate that we're all part of a community here. So there's questions that come up. I don't hold grudges, guys, and I definitely am not someone that holds on to a need to be fueled by anger. So I'm gonna do my best to go ahead and operate under the understanding that we're all doing the same thing out here. So, Almost Tall says, "How does CJ feel?" I see my name in a question mark. So, how does it feel to outperform the soap operas? Oh, well, okay. Well, I don't know about outperforming, but I do know that we have an opportunity. The beauty part about this, guys, that we have right here is this interactive media. So I can talk to you, you can talk to me. I do my best to interact as you know, on whatever level I can. But the issue is I have to deal with the haters, and and then I have to deal with finding things that are going to be relevant as well. But when it comes down to what we're able to do here, I think it's what mainstream media, a couple things they haven't figured out is that the people have a different view, have a different desire for what they want to see and what they want to experience. And they're not willing to go into places that are going to either put them in harm's way, which streamers, we do put ourselves out there in a way that a lot of people will never experience because you have to be in the front line, you know. But that's where we get grief, when you're in the middle of a fight or in the middle of an exchange between police and protesters, or wherever you happen to find yourself. Those are those times when things get really, really intense, and that's where we exist, is in that place. So, but MSM isn't at a place where they're going to be doing that, and And Dan, I appreciate you saying that. Dan Hilliard, appreciate you. It's funny watching you guys, because I only see the comment that comes in. I can't tell if you're responding to each other. So I see these random comments, almost like a meme that'll pop up, and I'm just like, I don't know what that even is talking about. But yeah, so someone said to talking about what we're going through now. I carry a trauma kit for a reason, guys. It's not got a label on it for what side I'm there to help. If something's sure to come up, it's to help whomever happens to be hurt. I've sat in, on both sides and flushed people's eyes with water and Malox to, if I'm even saying that, I can't remember what we put in the mix, but to get tear gas and pepper spray out of people's eyes. I've helped people with oxygen on both sides that have gotten hurt. And I'm from a humanitarian aspect. It doesn't matter who you are, or what flag you wave. Like, a human body is a human body. We need to respect that and take care of that. Trey's right. You're very wrong. Yeah, I've done 2 stories where I've actually been able to be around said Proud Boys. One was in Portland, and the other one was just Saturday night. So that's about as close as I've been able to get to doing coverage on. But I don't know a ton about them, but I'm learning. You know what I mean? So Jeremy is talking to somebody, and he says he's seeing chat that was extremely hateful or absolutely racist be blocked from the page. I think I'm reading this right. He says he's been blocked from most streamers on both sides because he will never support BLM and he will not back the blue. There you go, right down the middle there, right? He makes it very clear, I do not support either. He's saying that I've never blocked him, and I'm glad that we haven't, because I don't want you to have to pick sides to be a part of my community here. I don't need you to pick sides in order to be a part of what I'm doing out here, guys. I don't want you to feel the need to. I hope that you don't ever feel pressured to say one way or the other. I'll never ask you to say one thing or the other. I'll never ask you to pledge your allegiance to anything about me. Okay, just appreciate, guys, that I'm a dude with a camera, and I'm out here trying to get things showcased the best I can. So if we could just all backpedal a little bit and appreciate that I'll do the best I can. I promise you that. With the situations that come up, I will always do my best to give you coverage on everything that I can possibly find to give you coverage on that I feel is relevant. It's not all just going to be conflict and protest, guys. There's a lot of things that are out there that need attention that we're going to focus our attention on. What I will say is this right now, though, that we need to be a little more understanding. I would hope that you're understanding of the fact that I don't have all the answers, and I don't have this 100% figured out. I haven't been doing this for a career. This is new to me, and I'm learning as I go. So it's a labor of love, but it's something I'm passionate about, and I'm going to continue to do. And I'm hopefully you guys will be able to continue to do it with me, with the understanding that I don't have all the answers. I'm far from it. so amazingly far from it. I just couldn't even begin to tell you how much that I don't know. But I'm going to keep asking questions. But I'm not about picking a side. You know what I mean? And I hope you guys don't feel the need to be there. One of the things that I want to go ahead and touch on real fast, actually, just brought up, was at one point in the video, after the stabbings and after all of that, the fighting and everything, there was a point where a guy that I assumed was Enrique Taro was walking by. And Enrique Taro, guys, is the chairman of the Proud Boys. I had heard that multiple people have been stabbed in that crowd already. And as he walked by, I was trying to get his attention. And I was like, Enrique, are you guys good? I think is what I said, something along those lines. People are like, oh, he's obviously a Proud Boy. He's obviously tight with that guy. And he responded, I got one of their radios, I think. And I was like, oh, I guess that's what's going on. Okay. There were a couple things in the fray of it all. First of all, I wanted to see if it actually was him. Found out it was actually Enrique Taro. Secondly, had I been standing with any group that had been that had people get stabbed, I would have asked the same question as someone who was the ringleader of said group. So, and I know that there's blowback and flack for that. But again, the best thing I can do is say, hey, buddy, and throw something at him. It's not going to happen. So, but there, we figured out who it was, and we figured out what was going on. So, people are, for whatever reason, jumping down a rabbit's hole as to what that comment that meant right there. So, there you go. There you have it. And I hope people hear that one, because for whatever reason, that was something that came up. And it kept coming up, like, oh, you called Enrique by name. Well, he's an international face of recognition. Anyone that's I know him only because I ran into him down in Portland, and I was able to get in on an interview that he was having and ask a few quick questions. So, Hey, yeah, real fast. Actually, something just popped up. Renee out in Kenosha. Yeah. Big shout out right here to Nomadic Dreams Apparel. If you're not gonna rock one of mine, rock one of theirs. A lot of love there. You guys should check it out. Get online. Jacob Lang on IG. It's a local brand out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. Good stuff. Um, from right there at Shoots and Ladders in Kenosha. Amongst the handful of amazing places in Kenosha, guys. Now, you guys are going to be talking about Keno, and I'll be here all night. But I just got this thought, man. Authenticity. I had a chance to talk to a young man that was asking about streaming. He said that he wanted to be a streamer, that he wanted to do basically what I'm doing, and he didn't know where to start. And I think it all starts with something like this right here: is that you just got to be as authentic as you can. Try to be as engaged as possible. To be clear, guys, like I said, I don't have it figured out. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not going to get it right all the time. I'm going to do my best to make it right every time, if that makes sense. But we're going to keep pushing here, guys, and I take feedback from you. Um, at every chance I get, I take as much feedback as possible to help better grow what I'm doing, and to better move in a direction of this community, man, because this really is important to me, guys. This is a big deal to have this community out here. This is home for me, to know that we're all in here and we're able to do this together. You know what I mean? Misty Trump says, how do I feel about Mercado Media? I adore and love Andrew Mercado. He's a good friend and will always be someone that is going to be incredibly close to me. I think that there's been a lot of issues with what happened on Saturday, and that turned into blowback, and I hope that we can move past that at this point and appreciate that I love that guy, and that's never going to change. And there's other people that have issues too because of how close I might have been in my coverage to the Proud Boys, and they want to go ahead and streamers from the Northwest, they're like saying some sort of way, some sort of thing about me. But guys, again, I've never said bad word one about them, and I hope that they know that I still support them in their endeavors to go ahead and stream and to continue to push out this independent media that we are pioneering right now. We're all at the forefront of it. So it's just sad to see that there's anger and animosity for a certain story or a certain angle that I might get from the other end of my phone. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping we change that, because it doesn't need to be so diversified in our field as it does. It's crazy too, and I'll say this: how much things have changed. It's crazy to see how much has changed. When we first started streaming, guys, back when like 6-7 months ago, when we first started streaming, it was all for one. Like, we were all in this together. I remember having a sit down lunch on Andrew Mercado's birthday, actually, in Portland, and we had everybody was there. And it was when we first started. There was like RX and some of these people that are animately on one side of the line, and we all were just there respecting the fact that we all were holding a camera and we were a part of something. And that's okay. And as things have developed over the course of the last half a year, people have moved so far in different directions, and there's been so much internal fighting and backbiting and like feral talk, and it breaks my heart, because even in the times when I switched, when I was in concrete, I'm in a different direction, like, still nothing but respect for Ian and doing what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just sad to see that people are feeling that you need to go ahead and have a fight, that there needs to be conflict right there. And we can't appreciate that. Like, hey, man, we can all be out in this field in one single line looking at the same thing and see it 100% different than the guy next to us, or the woman on our left, or the person on either side, whatever you want to go by. That's 100% how it is. The world needs to be filled with shades of color like that. But it's sad that even in the stream world, people have gotten to that point where they feel like they have to like pick a side. And that's not what it is. And I hope that in the stream world, we can better move in a direction of doing the complete opposite, of blurring the lines between sides and breaking down these high walled borders that keep us so separate and at antagonized levels with each other, because it's so unnecessary. It's wildly unnecessary for us to have the issues that people are having right now, and we got to move away from that, guys. Something?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
Some people, You know what I like about you so much, CJ?
What's up?
I like how you do your thing with such respect, and how you really elevate as many people as you can. Like, I appreciate that you would never take someone else's footage and put it on your feed. and then pull it apart piece by piece and criticize what they did and what they said. Because like you said, you want to elevate voices, you know? So I see other streamers talking good talk, but then when it comes down to it, they're like, nah, you do you, and that's fine. I'm going to support you, but when it comes down to it at the end of the day, I'm going to criticize the hell out of you if I don't agree with you. So that's a lot of fun from this side of it, to see the different types of streamers out there and go, at least we got one who has never trash talked anybody, has never picked them apart or criticized how they behave in the field, even if you don't agree with it. Ever. I would ask anybody of the thousands of people following right now, have you ever heard this man take another streamer and rip them apart? Ever. And you and I have all watched these other streamers be absolute asshats in the field periodically. And yet this guy still stands by people, right? So I would ask you right about now, if you're someone out there who is a streamer and all is about like, let's elevate one another, let's support independent media, where's your support? How are you supporting? Who are you to take his footage and rip it apart and talk about what he did and didn't do right in a field where you weren't? Unless you're standing next to this guy, shut up. I was standing next to him. So anyone who wants to complain and whine about things, call me up. I was with him the entire night. P.S. He doesn't know the Proud Boy leader. You want to know the real reason that he said, hey, Enrique, you guys good? It's because he didn't want to look like an idiot. He didn't want to be like, hey, that's the Proud Boy leader. When it really wasn't him, you feel stupid if you do something like that. So instead he's like, hey, you guys good over there? And if you want to misconstrue that, go for it. Go for it. Like, it's not like he's lived a secret life and this is the only example of who he is. Like, how many thousands of hours do you think you've documented of your life, CJ? How many?
A lot.
A lot. So if you can see thousands of hours of him in the field talking with all different kinds of people, and you still want to come to the conclusion that he's somehow suddenly a Proud Boy, how many months did you spend in Chop Chow, CJ? How many?
Since the beginning.
Yeah, so that would have been like, what, 6 weeks?
No, it lasted longer. A couple months.
A couple months, okay. Yeah. So thousands and thousands of hours spent literally sleeping, eating, breathing next to people of color, of diversity, of ethnicities, all types of people, right?
Yeah.
People have seen all of that, and then all of a sudden they want to say, well, you know, you hung out with the Proud Boys one day. He's interacted with them twice, 2 times. One rally in Portland, which, by the way, he was one of the only streamers allowed to even speak with them. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Because if he hadn't been in there giving you guys footage, then what? They get to be this mysterious thing that nobody gets to know about, so you're welcome. And then the second time, DC, I was there. The Antifa little people, the little, you know, they're running around. They're not like in a big crowd going, hey, march with us. They're over here wreaking havoc, doing their thing, looking for a fight. And then they run off and go some other place and do the exact same thing. We were with the Proud Boys because they were out there. They were the only ones. Look at the footage. Was there anyone else that was like, hey, you can walk with us? No, there really wasn't. You weren't out on the streets. So criticize him all you want, but you sure liked his footage. You sure like taking his videos and putting them on your feed and then talking about it. So, you know, get some little man balls, all of you little streamers out there that want to criticize, because it's not fair. You know who he is. You've seen him cover all kinds of diversity. If you want to look for a reason to be hateful, find it. That's fine. Be you. But he's going to sit over here and be him and not be a Proud Boy, not be Antifa, just be a person who goes, you know what, humanity is important. Like, humans are more important than the labels. So if you want to get caught up on the labels, go for it. Live your best life. Enjoy yourselves. But when he's out in the field and humanity disappears, like, one thing, violence, fine. But when humanity disappears, what does he do? What? When it happened in Kenosha, what did he do? He got in there. When it happened on the streets of DC, what did he do? He got in there. I got in there because that's who we are. So if you have that, if you have a question in your mind about who we are, it's just been answered for you. And if you don't believe me, go live your best life. Okay? I'm done. Enjoy.
Is this okay? Yeah?
Yeah, we're good.
Well played. We good?
We're golden,
Man,
baby.
you guys, you got the business right there, y'all. I don't know what comments she was seeing, but somebody lit the fire. And far be it for me to interrupt my sister here, because woman, she's preaching. But you know what? Yeah, what she said. Okay. Yes, agreed. And I appreciate you repping for me. Good looking. Man. Yeah, that almost feels like it's time to wrap. But you know what she just did, I think is was unexpected, but I think it's fantastic because it's really what we should all be able to do. We should all be able to go ahead and speak our piece. That should be accepted. You know what I mean? Man. Yeah, but what she was talking about is a big deal, man. If you guys are out there and you feel that you could do it different or better, please do. There's plenty of room out in the field for a lot more streamers. There's plenty of room out in the field for people that want to go ahead and capture it in a different way. If there's something that you feel that you can do different, please do it different. You might even teach me something, a thing or two, because I'm 100% open to learning. But if it's a problem, if what you're seeing, if you don't like what you're seeing, done. That's all you got to do. You can change the channel. Real easy to change the channel, or just turn it off. You know, if this is just entertainment to you, that's fine. Just be entertained. But if it's something that causes you great grief, you don't have to be involved, guys. You don't have to be involved. I'm not going to spoon feed or shove anything down your throat. I'm just going to keep pushing things as best I can, and doing what I'm doing for me. Like I said, I'm on an educational journey, and I'm just happy that y'all are along for the ride. And I'm going to do the best I can to keep doing that. But man, for real, guys, I think some of the comments that I saw and what I'm talking about, it's sad to see that even in the world that we operate in, people are backbiting and tearing people down. And you're not going to hear me do that. I'm not going to do it. And people want me to. People will tell you they want to hear you say. They want to hear you pick a side. They want you to be more of this or more of that. But guys, I'm not pandering to everybody. I'm going to do me, and I'm going to keep doing me. There's going to be comments that'll come in, and I can guarantee you they're going to affect me and they're going to upset me. But I got to remind myself, just like you guys always do, to look past those and see the 1,000 before and the 1,000 after it that are amazing, positive, and uplifting, and actually doing something to contribute and be an active part of growth and better understanding. And that's what I'm working on. That's what we should all be working on. So, yeah, check yourself, guys, for real. Like anyone watching right now, if you've got like hostility in your mind and that's what you want to do, even if you're being snarky and you want to be like, so, you know, some kind of pessimistic, condescending, and like cynical of some type, maybe that's your flow. Like, come on, change your rap. You know what I mean? Go a different direction with it. Like, it's old. It's getting real old. Like the world is getting real tired of people just being ready to fire across the fence at you. I mean, I'm tired of it. I think we should all focus a little bit more on microaggression. We need to work away from the micro affirmations. What we need to move towards. So often we find people standing around a water cooler talking about Todd or Tammy or Jenny or Frank. They're like, oh, did you hear about? Man, let me tell you, the worst thing you could possibly fill in that blank with. Why is that? Why is that the way that people want to operate? Why is gossip a thing of negativity and hostility? Like, why do we have to focus that attention? I'm not there. I don't exist in that world. And I really try hard not to let people around me exist in that world either. So why can't we go ahead and say that same cooler talk? Did you hear about Todd? He built his own house. He raised 5 amazing children, has an incredible wife, has an incredible husband, has an incredible life, whatever it is. What a good dude. He makes the best potato salad at all the barbecues. Whatever it is, man, I don't care, but that could be the focus. We can change our views and start focusing more on the positive side of life, guys. Because right now what we're doing is we're focusing so much on not screwing up. We're focusing so much on what we shouldn't do that we end up stepping across the line from time to time. And here's a little example that I'll tell you guys about. And I think I might have mentioned it before, but I'm going to say it again because it feels important for me to say it right now. My mother told me about back in the day and about these helicopter pilots that had gone through simulation. So I looked into it. And the simulation that was happening, this is when simulators first really kind of came out. They took these crack helicopter pilots. These guys are the aces in their fields. I'm talking through like the Vietnam War, the Korean War, these guys back in the day that were the best in their field. They put them through the simulator. 95% failed. They all wrecked their helicopters and died terribly. A little bit later, they put them through the exact same simulation, only they changed a little bit of the control. And the control that they changed was in that they changed the focal point of the flight. And the group that went through was 97% pass rate. All they did was in their first group, they focused all the attention on highlighting the red areas that were no-fly zones. All the areas where if you went too close, your blades would clip and it would crash your helicopter. The next group that came in, they focused it on the green areas, the fly zones that were safe to fly in. And so the helicopter pilots instinctively went from focusing the edge of their blade on the red zone and how close they could get to that fine line to operating right down in the middle of the green zone. And they had greener pastures on both sides to operate in. They had safety to operate in on both sides. And it seems like maybe it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but for me, it makes perfect sense. Like I feel 100% that we spend so much time tiptoeing around landmines instead of just switching the direction to walk, man. Like we are so built in with this fear factor that we end up messing up. You know what I mean? But not only that, but there's the hostility factor. We get so close to the red, so close to the edge of anger, so close to the edge of animosity, so close to the edge of being that thing that we end up becoming that thing. We need to stop that stuff and focus in another direction. All these clashes, all this fighting, all this, even this stupid bickering that happens for what? For what? Like what conversations are coming out of someone that comes in without wanting to listen and someone that comes in without wanting to listen? Everybody goes home pissed off because no one got heard. It's been said that the best treaties or negotiations are at the hands of both parties being unhappy. Like both people need to leave a treaty unhappy so that no one person got worked over. But the only way you can do that is for both parties to make concessions. And I think the concession we can make in this is understanding. Stop spending so much time trying to convince people and spend a little more time trying to understand where they're coming from. You know what I mean? I've heard some of the most amazing dialogue in the streets. Some like even in D.C., we were out there and you saw people that were going, I mean, I'm talking toe to toe, and they were rapping at each other, just going at it. And you thought this is going to go to blows. They're going to get wild. And they end up hugging it out and like exchanging phone numbers. But man, thank you. I saw something different that way. And I saw a lot of that in DC too, where people were even mitigating, or not mitigating, but they were kind of, arbitrating between the two groups. They're like, oh, well, this is what they were trying to say, I think. And they were able to negotiate these conversations and have constructive conversation that I thought was amazing. It was beautiful. We saw that in Kenosha on the fence in front of the courthouse. There was guys that were there packing heat, and they said they were there to protect the National Guard that was on the other side of the fence. And there was a guy who was there, and he was very animate. He was talking against it. He was like, well, what do you need to be out here with guns? This is off the wings of the shootings in Kenosha. And they were talking, and it got heated. It got to a point where even one of the guys kind of like backed up, felt like he needed to get out of it. By the end of it, they ended up shaking hands and hugging it out. And they realized that they don't have to agree on everything, but they can go ahead and come to a common ground on some basic human levels. And I think that's where people have lost their way on that. They've forgotten that right now, the fighting is where they focus their attention and not on the healing. And it's going to continue to get worse if we haven't figured that out yet, guys. And I'm going to talk about what's happening in current politics, man. Biden or Trump, let's get off the fight, guys. Vote for America right now. And everyone will say, well, if the only vote for America is for fill in the blank. But knock it off, man. Like, let's just go ahead and put our faith in whoever does take lead of our country doing the best they can for the next 4 years to give us the best growth and the best stability that our country can have. Let's focus on that for whomever it might be. And I'm going to get hate for it. That's fine. That's fine. You guys can say what you want in there. Dial me up in the comments, but I'm 100% for our country. You know what I mean? And I would hope, like I said, that if even the majority comes into being a 51%, that 51% feels the same way, that the 50 or the 49% on the other side aren't so polarized that they feel that person is going to destroy the fiber of America. Let's just move past that. Can we please? You don't have to be a Baptist or a Catholic or a Christian or a Muslim, you know what I mean? And have that be the only thing that keeps you on your side of the fence. I mean, we can blend these worlds together. We can spend a little more time spending a little bit more time together. You know what I mean? But and I'm going to keep pushing that until the day I die. And I hope that when I do, I'll be surrounded in that 6-foot pit by a blend of people, by a grouping of people that comes from all walks of life, from all different nationalities, from all different worlds of understanding. And that I'm hopefully looked at as someone that spent his life trying to do more positive than negative and trying to build more than I destroyed. And man, there's just a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff that's happening out there. And it's sad to see that people need to fight it out. Like kids are literally fighting in their schools, like fist fighting at 13 years old, 12 years old over who their parents are voting for. Guys, knock it off, man. Stop it. Stop. Move a different direction with things, man. One of the coolest parts about the day that I spent in Saturday Wasn't that I got to see this crazy exchange between Antifa and Proud Boys. Was that I got to talk to young people that were out there watching democracy take place. They were watching their ability, to march in the streets. They were seeing their parents, be proud of what they believed. And that's incredible to see children be able to be involved safely in a situation that needs to be our focal point, which is the preservation of our of our great nation, man. Like, I don't know, you're gonna get me going down a deep spot here, but I really feel, guys, that if we can't focus more of our attention on healing, we're just gonna end up breaking ourselves even more than we already are. So anyway, then Dennis, let's not let people divide us then. You say we're a blended nation. The problem is we're controlled by elitists who divide us. Well, let's stop that then. Let's stop letting people divide us. Let's stop letting people say things that are keeping us on either side of a fence. Let's realize that we don't have to have the fence at all. We can all work collectively. There's going to be another way to do it, guys. There's going to be a different way. Some people have it figured out. Hopefully I'll be able to find them in my journeys here. We'll be able to go ahead and look at another way to get things done, but it exists. There's other ways to do things. Yeah, there you go. We need to stop the mindset that if you're not with us, you're against us. That's very true. Like someone said before, they're not with BLM and they're not for Back the Blue. They don't agree with either organization, and that's okay. So TSP and D1 over on Twitch, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. Here, what do you say? Young man Silas. Oh yeah, when I asked him what he thought about what he was seeing, he said it was sad. Yeah, it was sad. A young person, that's all he said, is just sad. It's sad to see. Man. Yeah. But guys, I don't want to be on here all night. I did want to spend some time. I'm sorry that the feed wasn't as good as it could have been for the videos that we're looking to relay. But I'm going to keep pushing, guys, and I'm going to keep doing everything I can. I want to be very clear that I don't have all the answers. I may not say the right thing by standards of yours or anyone else's from time to time, but I always try to make things right. For anybody that has issues with what happened Saturday night, I hope we can better understand right now that I'm not a member of any organization. I'm definitely not, I didn't pledge any allegiance to any like the Proud Boys or anything else. That's not what happened. I was doing my best to cover the story that was happening in the streets of DC while it was happening. Okay. That's where we're at. I'm going to keep pushing and doing everything I can to push in the direction of education and understanding. Not because I'm going to be educating you. Never is that going to be my cry to, my battle cry here. But hopefully the people that I talk to will be able to better educate you. So, but I hope we can open our minds up a little bit. Focus a little bit more on looking to understand, looking to listen rather than being heard. But hey, guys, it's for you to understand your own truths. It's for you to take a little bit more time to better understand your own beliefs. And if anything, I would say, like I said before, operate out of your imagination, not out of your history. Let's reimagine a way to get things done, and appreciate that, like the things that we should hold true to are like your morals and your value, and allow yourself on the wings of that to grow and to organically experience life and to better see things in a way that might help us as people grow together. We need to, open up ourselves to a better thought process on things. And we can do that. And you've asked Lisa a couple of times here, how do I feel about the kids that were being terrorized from Antifa and BLM on Saturday? I feel terrible. It was terrible to see. I saw a father with his child being attacked. And here's the thing, I didn't see what led up to it, but seeing a little kid get knocked down underneath his father while he's being attacked in the streets is terrible. That is what I'm talking about. It shouldn't happen. It doesn't need to happen. Seek understanding. Justin, you're right there. You said it right. Seek understanding. Let's do that. Let's all seek understanding. Let's work better to try to understand our fellow brothers and sisters and work in that direction. But yeah. So I think that's a good note for me to wrap on, guys. I hope that we've covered enough to give you a firm understanding of what it is that happened on Saturday from my point of view, from my perspective. I'm going to be doing more chit chat with you guys as time comes up. But if you have questions, if you have situations that come up and you're ever curious, guys, DM me. Feel free, man. Email me, whatever you want to do. If you want to know more about my views, and you don't feel like I'm able to do that enough in my feed, feel free to reach out, man. Like I'm 100% open to people, and I try to be as transparent as possible. You know, there's some things that are near and dear to my heart that I feel like I need to keep for me and me alone, because that's the human way of insulating ourselves from a lot of the pain in the world. But I feel like I try to make myself readily available as best I can. I'm just a dude, again, who's trying to figure it out. If you're trying to figure it out too, and we can do that together, that's awesome. You know, let's just keep working on it. So, all that being said, I appreciate everyone in here. I appreciate all you for coming in and being a part of this. I appreciate all the support, the contributions, guys. That makes all the difference, like we talked about in the very beginning. Thank you all very much. I want to reach out to my mod team right now on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. I'm sorry that I haven't spent as much time with you as I should. The last month and a half has been trying and long and stressful for all of us. You guys are doing such an amazing job. I can't thank you enough for being a part of this community and for making it all possible, because you guys need to know that without all of you in here doing what you do, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. So thank you all very much. And for those that don't know what my mods are, what the mods are, they're moderators that are on the back end of this, helping keep these chats from going toxic and doing their best to maintain the continuity of our flow here and make sure that it's one of positivity. And they do an amazing job of it across all three platforms. So thank you guys so much for being so incredible. I promise you we're going to spend more time with each other. I promise you. For the mods on other channels that are kind of cross platforms, I hope you know where my heart is, and I hope you can better appreciate who I am and know that I haven't changed, you know, at all. And what I'm doing here is 100% still driving towards love and peace and understanding and mutual respect. Don't go anywhere. You know, stick it around. You know, we all need your help, and you make a huge difference. So, love, guys. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna figure it out, and I love all y'all for being a part of this, and for sticking it out with me. So, thank you, and thank again all of you for the support that makes all this possible. I love you guys, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Okay, take care.